It's fitting, I guess, that today is one of those windy days in Saskatchewan. And Pentecost Sunday, it came in like a rush of a wind, and flames appeared upon the disciples' head. It's a very powerful story, and most of us know this from our childhood, that the disciples were gathered in a room, and it doesn't say it, but they were probably gathered there together in fear and trepidation, as they had for much of the time after Jesus had died, and wondering what it is that they should do with all of this knowledge and information and power that God had passed on to them. And who knows that if the rush of the wind and the flames of fire had not come upon their head, if they would have remained there for the rest of their lives. But the truth is that God's Spirit came upon them and gave them the strength and the courage and the gifts to speak these powerful words and to speak in a language that they had never spoken before. Here's the power of this story. Okay, these were not highly educated people who had gone to seminary for 4 years and served an internship. These are people who probably could hardly read or write, or their education level was that of fishermen and farmers. At that day, it was a very low education. And some people believe that all of us have the same capability and power within us. Some people believe that we only use 5 to 10% of our brains. We only use 5 or 10% of the gifts and capabilities that God has given to us. That's a sad story. That's very sad that we go throughout our lives only using 5 to 10% of all the gifts and all the abilities and the brain that God has given to us. The real gift here, I believe, the real power in this story is that when the Spirit came upon them, they lost their fear and they became confident. And they began to use these gifts that maybe were always there within them, but they were hidden behind all of their self-doubt and their fear. And they probably never would have used these gifts if it hadn't been for the Spirit coming upon them. How many of us are operating at 5 to 10% of our capabilities? And why is that? Most of us don't believe. We believe that this is our life. Our capabilities are what you see. And we are taught and educated from the time we are young children that this is our world and this is our life. This is what you can do and this is what you can't do. We are raised to live within a box, and it is the box of what other people say about us. It is a box of what other people say is our capabilities and our possibilities. And we live most of our lives within that box. So it's twofold. It's not knowing and not believing that we have these extraordinary gifts, and it's also fear. We have an extraordinary amount of fear that resides within us. The fear of failure, the fear of what other people will think about us. What if we go and begin to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ to other people? What are other people going to say? What are they going to think? Are they think that we're crazy, as they did the disciples that day? How do we step past? First of all, we have to believe. We have to believe that there is something within us. And I truly believe this, and maybe now is a time in the world for people to find those gifts that we have stored within us, and to tear down those barriers that we and others have built up about what we are capable of doing and not capable of doing. I believe the cure for cancer lies within somebody in our world today. I believe that the solution to world peace lies within somebody today in our world. And maybe the solution and the vaccination to this COVID virus lies within somebody today. and yet it could stay hidden within if they keep living with doubt and fear. We ask God that He would give us the courage and the strength, the ability to see the gifts that He has given to us, open our eyes to these gifts, and above all, that He would grant us the courage to put aside our fears and the worries about what other people might think about us, and boldly step out and do what God has called us to do. Chapters is open, and I went on the first day, and I actually bought a book. I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera. It's called Rituals. Very powerful book, very interesting, and it talks, she gives, Natalie McNeil is the author, and she has scoured the world spiritually and come up with different rituals that have been a part of the culture of people around the world, and a very powerful way to enhance our spiritual lives. And one of the first things she says in the book is to find a sacred place. Make a sacred place in your house. And whether it's candles or whether it's colors or whatever it is, a place where you can go and feel the presence of God and meditate and come closer in your faith. I couldn't find it in the book, so I'm going to create a new ritual today. And it's part of the old ritual that we have in our Christian faith. And it's the color red. We have red twice a year, Pentecost and Reformation. Awesome. Okay, I believe red was chosen for a reason. I did an exploration on the internet, and red is a color which exudes power, courage, and bravery. It's interesting that Tiger Woods, renowned golfer, wears red on Sundays. And there's a reason for it. It's not because it's his favorite color, because it exudes power, courage, and bravery. Red. One way we can get past the fears that are holding us back in life is to remind ourselves that God gives us courage. God gives us strength and bravery and power. So wear red. Whenever you need to burst forth and to do something courageously, wear the color red. Red shirt, some kind of red socks if you have to. Wear something red or carry something red that is with you, and it will remind you of the courage and power that God has bestowed upon you. Amen.